When you think about building a life with someone, you generally picture, laying bricks. You build a house, maybe you plant a garden.
Combine your book collections.
Right, exactly. You combine the book collections, and if things don't work out, you divide the books, you sell the house, and you move on. I mean, it's painful, obviously, but the math is basically just subtraction.
Yeah, but it's contained subtraction. For most people, anyway.
Right. But when a normal couple splits, that subtraction is contained. For the ultra-wealthy, though, the people whose lives are plastered across the tabloids, getting a divorce is less like dividing up a bookshelf and more like trying to carefully dismantle a nuclear reactor.
While the whole world watches.
While the whole world watches.
Oh.
It's insane. So today, we are taking a deep dive, extracting the legal, financial, and honestly, the psychological mechanics behind this massive piece from People magazine. It catalogs the most expensive and, frankly, the most explosive celebrity divorces of all time.
And we really need to dig into the mechanics here, rather than just, rubbernecking at the tabloid drama.
Yeah, totally.
Because the source points out this really grounding fact from the American Psychological Association, which is that about 50% of marriages end in divorce. Celebrities are human beings, so they fall into that exact same statistic.
They're just like us, right?
Right. But the sheer number of zeros on those settlement checks, combined with immense public scrutiny, it completely transforms the anatomy of the split. We are looking at how a private domestic event basically becomes a global financial unwinding.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I always assumed that anyone worth over, say, $100 million, let alone $100 billion, just had an ironclad prenuptial agreement. How does someone end up losing half their fortune overnight?
Well, geography is often the hidden variable that just overrules everything else.
Really? Just where you live?
Yeah. In the United States, your marital assets are heavily dictated by the specific state you live in. We're talking about billion-dollar math here, and a lot of times the lack of a prenup collides catastrophically with what's called a community property state.
Which means what, exactly?
Washington and California are prime examples.
Wait, I see. So if you are listening to us right now and you live in a community property state, this same legal mechanism applies to you, just with fewer zeros.
Precisely. In a community property state, any asset acquired or any income earned during the marriage is considered equally owned by both spouses. 50-50.
Wow.
It doesn't matter whose name is on the paycheck or who founded the company. Unless you have a prenup explicitly stating otherwise, the law views the marriage as a perfectly equal economic partnership.
Which completely explains the Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Scott split.
Exactly.
The source notes that in June 2018, Bezos was named the world's richest man. And then they split in 2019 after 25 years of marriage.
Right, and they married way back before Amazon was a global behemoth.
Yeah, so there was no prenup. Because they lived in Washington state, the local law essentially reached into one of the biggest net worths on the planet and just cleaved it in two.
And the mechanics of that transfer are mind-boggling. I mean, you aren't just writing a personal check at that point.
Right, what are you even doing?
You are transferring voting rights, transferring shares, altering the cap table of a publicly traded company. It's massive. They managed to work things out privately, avoiding a big court battle, but Mackenzie walked away with around $36 billion.
$36 billion.
Yeah, it made her one of the richest women in the world instantly.
And just as a side note here, the source mentions that by June 2020, she'd already given $1.7 billion of it away to charity.
Which is incredible.
It is. But we see this lack of a prenup decimating fortunes repeatedly. Like Mel Gibson and Robin Moore. They finalized their divorce in 2011 after nearly 30 years of marriage. Again, no prenup.
Right.
That resulted in a literal halving of his $850 million fortune, giving Moore a $425 million settlement.
And even when couples try to put agreements in place after the fact or they possess massive liquid wealth, unwinding a decades-long marriage is unbelievably complicated. Just look at Bill and Melinda Gates.
Oh, man, yeah. 27 years of marriage.
Right, and they had a private separation agreement in place, but again, no prenup.
Untangling their lives must have been a logistical nightmare. The source details a $130.8 million waterfront mansion in Washington, a $43 million home in California, and Bill's 1.34% stake in Microsoft.
It's a lot of physical and corporate assets.
But the part that really broke my brain was their namesake foundation, which was worth more than $40 billion. How do two people who are divorcing split a global charitable foundation? Like, you can't just cut it in half.
No, you can't. Dividing a philanthropic engine of that magnitude is where family law bleeds directly into corporate governance.
Yeah, that.
You can't just liquidate a $40 billion foundation and split the cash. The endowments are locked into, global health initiatives and long-term contracts. So the division isn't about money at all.
What is it about then?
It's about control. Who sits on the board? Who direct the grants? They actually stated they would continue their work together, which requires establishing parallel leadership structures or distinct operational lanes within the exact same entity.
Wow, so you still have to go to work with your ex.
Basically, it demands a level of ongoing, formalized partnership that most divorced couples never have to navigate.
That's wild. It's like getting married without a prenup in a community property state at this level of wealth really isn't a romantic union. It's a corporate merger.
That's a great way to put it.
And getting divorced is like both CEOs suddenly having to dissolve the company and split every single paperclip, office chair, and international subsidiary 50-50.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what you're describing is the exact shift that happens at this echelon of wealth. A divorce ceases to be a familial event. It becomes the literal dismantling of a multinational corporation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
You weren't just dividing a household, you were dividing global assets, intellectual property, and immense financial power.
Right. And because liquid cash is often halved instantly in these community property states, couples are frequently left asset-rich but cash poor, which forces them into bizarre negotiations over physical objects just to make up the difference.
Yes, the physical stuff.
Once you get past the billions in raw cash, how do you split the physical stuff? I mean, you can't just saw a $30 million mansion in half.
No, you can't. And we move from dividing liquid cash to dividing highly specific, incredibly illiquid, and highly volatile assets. This is where appraisers become the most important people in the room.
Okay, take Scooter Braun, the record executive, and Yale Cohen. They settled their divorce in September 2022. Braun pays a $20 million spousal support buyout and $60,000 a month in child support.
Which is a huge number on its own.
Right. But look at how they split the physical assets. Cohen kept a $30 million Brentwood home and a Land Rover Defender. Braun kept a $65 million LA mansion, a private jet, and over 100 pieces of classic art.
The art collection is key here.
Yeah, we're talking Andy Warhol, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Jasper Johns.
Art of that caliber is a fascinating asset class during a divorce. A Basquiat painting doesn't have a fixed price like a share of Apple stock.
Right. It's not like you could just look up the ticker symbol.
Exactly. Its value is entirely subjective. I mean, it's worth whatever another billionaire is willing to pay for it at auction on any given Tuesday.
So how does a judge or a lawyer assign a dollar value to a Warhol so that the overall settlement is 50-50?
It usually involves bringing in dueling independent art appraisers.
Oh, wow. Like expert witnesses against each other.
Yeah. One side's appraiser might argue the art market is softening, right? So they value the collection lower, while the other side argues it's a booming asset class. If they can't agree, the court might actually force them to establish a shared trust to co-own the art.
Imagine co-owning a painting with your ex.
Or worse, the court could mandate a forced liquidation.
Meaning they have to sell it.
Yeah, they have to auction the art and split the cash, and that often results in a lower sale price because buyers know it's a distressed sale. They know the couple has to sell. So when Braun keeps the art, he is taking on immense financial risk compared to just keeping liquid cash.
It's a massive gamble.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the pop culture crossover the source points out here. The split was heavily scrutinized, especially after Taylor Swift released her song Karma.
Right, the lyrics.
Yeah, which many perceive to be about Braun, who is her longtime adversary, going through this very divorce. But, okay, if splitting a volatile Basquiat painting is hard, what about splitting an asset that literally doesn't exist yet?
This is where the legal mechanics push the boundaries of reality.
Let's look at Joe Don Rooney from the country band Rascal Flatts and his estranged wife, Tiffany Fallon. In 2021, she accused him of inappropriate marital conduct, habitual drunkenness, and abuse of narcotics.
All of which he denied, of course.
Right? All denied. And both parties accused each other of cheating. But the legal detail that stopped me in my tracks is this. Tiffany subpoenaed Joe's former bandmates because she is asking for alimony in futuro.
Yes.
She wants a cut of the profits if Rascal Flatts, who officially retired in 2020, by the way, ever tour again? I have to push back on this. How can a court possibly put a dollar amount on a hypothetical future reunion tour of a retired country band?
It sounds impossible, right?
It's not a house.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened.
What's fascinating here is how the legal system attempts to value cultural cachet and brand equity. For a celebrity, their potential to generate future revenue is often their most valuable asset. The court can't just guess, though. They have to build a highly specific predictive model.
Okay, but what does that predictive model actually look like?
Forensic accountants and entertainment actuaries are brought in.
Entertainment actuaries.
Yes, that's a real job. They look at historical data, like Rascal Flatts' past tour revenues and merchandise sales. Then they analyze current streaming algorithms. Are people still listening to their back catalog on Spotify?
Oh, wow. They look at the aging demographics of their fan base and compare them to similar legacy country acts like Brooks and Dunn, who have actually done reunion tours. They factor in the inflation of concert ticket prices, the venue sizes.
That is insane.
They essentially create a mathematical probability of what a tour would yield today, and then negotiate a percentage of that hypothetical future reality.
That is wild. They are mathematically modeling a reality that might never occur just to settle a present-day divorce.
But as complicated as the financial modeling gets, sometimes the legal friction isn't about the money at all, is it?
Not at all.
Like, if the physical and hypothetical assets are mathematically solved, what happens when the couple just wants to destroy each other?
The psychology of extreme wealth dictates that when you have enough money to fight forever, the fight stops being about the money.
Right.
For the average person, a divorce is constrained by legal fees. Eventually, you simply run out of money to pay the lawyers and you have to settle. But for the ultra-wealthy, that financial friction doesn't exist. The courtroom transforms into a stage.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's examine the sheer pettiness of the Phil Collins and Orianne Bates saga.
Oh, this one is something else.
It's a movie. They split in 2006, and Collins paid a $46.68 million settlement. At the time, that was the biggest in British legal history.
A massive payout.
Massive. Then, in a massive plot twist, they get back together in 2016.
A reunion that ultimately sets the stage for an even more explosive separation in 2020.
Right, because Collins discovers that Bates had secretly married another man, Thomas Bates, while she was still living in Collins' $40 million Miami mansion.
You can't make it up.
You really can't. So naturally, Collins serves her an eviction notice. But rather than just leaving, she retaliates by contesting the eviction with these wild claims. She alleged Collins refused to shower and had a stench that became so pervasive that he became a hermit.
Which is such a specific and bizarre thing to put in a legal document. Collins' legal team immediately refuted this, calling the claims immaterial, impertinent, and basically a form of extortion designed to publicly embarrass him into a favorable settlement.
It's a brutal tactical move. She eventually did move out, but while waiting for a judge's decision on her claim for half the house's proceeds, she literally auctioned off Collins' personal records and awards.
Wow.
Yeah. A judge finally dismissed her claims in 2022, but the sheer level of vindictiveness is astounding. And they certainly aren't the only ones weaponizing their public platforms.
The public insult slinging is a recurring theme when the battle shifts from dividing assets to inflicting emotional vengeance.
You have Kim Basinger and Alec Baldwin in a vicious 4-year custody battle, throwing around terms like Black Widow and Tin Pot Tyrant.
Just brutal.
And Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards. Sheen released emails calling Richards a sad, jobless pig, while Richards alleged Sheen slept with prostitutes and tried to block their kids from getting common vaccinations.
The mudslinging is constant.
The source even details the famous 1989 Aspen confrontation involving Donald Trump, his then-wife Ivana, and Marla Maples. Maples reportedly walked up to Ivana and said, "I'm Marla and I love your husband, do you?" And Ivana replied, "You bitch, leave my husband alone."
A very public scene.
Very. And obviously, we're just reporting what's in the source material here as a historical pop culture event, not taking any political sides. But that public confrontation was the catalyst for a $25 million settlement.
And the ultimate culmination of this public warfare, where the legal process itself becomes a weapon of reputation destruction, is the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trials.
Yeah, definitely. They divorced after just 15 months of marriage, resulting in a $7 million settlement that Heard donated to charity. But the friction didn't end there, did it?
Not at all.
It devolved into multi-continent defamation trials over abuse allegations. There was a trial in the UK against the Sun newspaper, which Depp lost. And then the massive 2022 trial in Virginia over a Washington Post op-ed Heard wrote.
Which was televised and watched by millions.
Exactly. The jury ultimately awarded Depp $15 million, which the judge reduced to $10.35 million, and awarded Heard $2 million for her countersuit. They finally settled with Heard paying Depp $1 million, which he donated. Again, just laying out the facts from the source impartially here.
Right. And defamation suits following a divorce are often just a continuation of the marital conflict by other means. When a judge has already divided the bank accounts, the only thing left to fight over is the public narrative. As we noted, without the constraint of legal fees, the process itself becomes the punishment.
The process is the punishment.
The goal isn't necessarily to win a financial award. The goal is to drag the other party through years of grueling, highly publicized litigation.
That completely reframes how we should look at these celebrity trials. Now, as we move into the final segment of our deep dive, I want to look at cases where the traditional script gets completely flipped. We've talked a lot about the wealthy husband paying out the wife, which is kind of a common tabloid trope.
Leverage and wealth do not adhere to traditional gender roles, especially in Hollywood or royal circles. Community property states and family law courts only care about the math, not the gender of the higher earner.
Right, take Madonna and Guy Ritchie. They split in 2008, and it was widely reported that Madonna paid Ritchie between $76 million and $92 million.
A massive flip of the script.
Yeah, and you also have Paul McCartney paying Heather Mills nearly $50 million. McCartney later famously called that marriage his biggest regret of the decade. It's a stark reminder that the person who brings the most into the marriage is the one who pays the most to leave it.
Which introduces a completely different dynamic. Cases where the massive payout isn't just about dividing community property, but about buying freedom, or in some extreme cases, literal physical safety.
Right, safety. We all know the tragic fairy tale of Princess Diana and Prince Charles. The source chronicles their mutual infidelity, their separation in 1992, and then Diana's famed 1995 Panorama interview.
Which really sealed it.
That interview was the point of no return, leading to their 1996 divorce. But let's look at a much more recent royal split. The ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and Princess Haya bint Al Hussein.
This is perhaps the most extraordinary settlement in the entire source material, specifically because of what the money was designated for.
In 2021, the Sheikh was ordered to pay a staggering $728 million to Princess Haya. But CNN reported that this wasn't just to divide up mansions and yachts.
No, not at all.
This was explicitly ordered by a British court to cover Princess Haya's security costs for the rest of her life, along with ongoing costs for their 2 children due to allegations of threats from the Sheikh himself. I want to pose this to you and to the listener. Does a massive payout fundamentally change its meaning when it is explicitly earmarked for lifetime security?
It absolutely does.
Compare that to someone like David Bador paying his Real Housewives star ex-wife Shannon Bador $1.4 million simply to equalize the division of community property. Those are 2 completely different universes of meaning.
This raises an important question about the true nature of these highest-level settlements. When you reach the absolute echelons of global power, whether it's sovereign wealth or royal families, a divorce settlement ceases to be a domestic family law issue. It acts more like a geopolitical treaty.
A treaty? Wow.
Yeah, in cases involving threats and lifetime security details, the settlement functions almost as a calculated survival mechanism. It becomes entirely detached from the romantic origins of the marriage and transforms into a rigid international negotiation for safety and freedom.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at the staggering zeros changing hands between Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Scott, and unpacking how community property laws can instantly rewrite a billionaire's net worth.
Right.
We looked at the sheer logistical weirdness of dividing up volatile asset classes like Basquiat paintings, and how actuaries build predictive mathematical models to value the hypothetical future profits of a retired country band.
The alimony in futuro.
Exactly. We watched people fight over who gets the Miami mansion, and how unlimited wealth turns the courtroom into a theater where the legal process itself becomes the punishment. Whether it's dividing $36 billion or finalizing a geopolitical treaty for lifetime security, these extreme celebrity splits reveal the incredibly complex intersection of love, law, and leverage.
They absolutely do, and I think this exploration leaves us with a provocative thought to consider. If a marriage at this level of wealth and visibility requires a team of lawyers to value everything from a private jet to the hypothetical earnings of a tour that hasn't even happened, does extreme wealth make a true equal partnership impossible? When the financial stakes are this astronomically high, are these couples ever truly married in the way most people understand the word? Or are they just forming high-risk corporate mergers disguised as romance? It's something to think about the next time you see a tabloid headline about a billionaire split.
A high-risk corporate merger disguised as romance. That perfectly captures the reality behind the glamour. When these couples split, they aren't just dividing up a shared home. They are dismantling the nuclear reactor, managing the fallout, and dividing the atoms, all while the public watches the sparks fly. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We'll catch you on the next one.